Well, hello. Today I'd like to talk to you about the Rotring Core, or as one of my viewers calls it, the Space Wand. This is an interesting pen made by Rotring fairly recently, so I won't call it a vintage review. I won't call it a pen that's for sale now. So let's see this interesting pen. If videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens, both new and old, at different price points, please subscribe. If you'd like to comment about the Space Wand, or any other pens that might be interesting that would be related to this, please feel free to comment below. So let's get into the pen. So what you're looking at here is the Space Wand. This is a Rotring Core. I'm thinking as I look at that clip there, rather Lamy Safari-esque, wouldn't you say? I'd say. I've heard it, read it and heard it described as an ugly pen. I will say it's an interesting pen. Now, Rotring right now is not a big name in the fountain pen world. They're best known for their technical drawing pens. Those are pens that have a tubular steel nib. I've never used one myself, so I'm not going to comment on what they're like to use, but that's what they're most known for. But there was a time, especially when they got out from under the thumb of Pelikan, that they invested in, or they experimented with various fountain pens. Now, mostly what's left of the fountain pen world with them is a couple calligraphy pens. We'll go with that. I don't know. I'm messing up pronouncing the other word. I will call the Rotring Core a unique animal. So let's take a look. I have read that this appeals to the kids market, and as I rotate this around, you may have some hint why. You may also have some hint why one of my viewers calls it the Space Wand. So interesting details. It comes in several colors. This is the Lyceum color. Each color right here has its own symbol. Very futuristic looking. Gigantic cap. In fact, this cap will not fit in my pen case. I cannot fit this pen into my pen case. Now, before I show you the really weird parts, let's go with why I'm sympathizing with the idea it could be aimed for a younger market. So we get little things like, turn this way. Well, what they mean is to open it, to get out the cartridge, which I'll spare you that for a second because I've got my reasons. Right on, system. Whatever that means. Looks futuristic, though. Core. Weird symbol-y things. I think this could be a somewhat functional ink window if I used a cartridge rather than a converter. With a converter, basically you see the screw part of the converter. We're spared some garish design. And then at the other end, force resource. Is that their fancy way of saying there's the ink window? And dotty decoration-y things. And made in Germany. Plain finial. Rather substantial, impressive finial. One thing I've noticed, this cap is sort of rubbery. And I have noticed that it's deteriorating a little bit. I don't know if that's a thing, but I have read it. Now I said Rotring. German, Rot is red. Ring is, ring. And all the pens of this brand have a red ring. Now I've been trying to hide it, but you've probably seen now the more interesting feature of this pen, which is that grip. I'm not finding a word for it. It's a very odd-looking grip. The nib is labeled as an extra large, which I'm taking to mean broad. Rotring, Germany. It's a steel nib. You'll see it actually does write well. And, there's sort of an odd-looking feed, but it does work. And then you open it. This orange doodad gets pulled up as you open it when you push in your converters or your cartridges that gets pushed down, but like I said, it gets pulled up as you unscrew this. I'm guessing that's a mechanism for when you screw it on for forcing the cartridges down to get pierced open. I really don't know. But I can't tell much ink's in there. Sorry, I was thinking I could. So actually this orange thing came out one of the times I cleaned this pen out. So screw this all back on. And yeah. So it's an ugly beast, but I will say in its defense that it does write well. And that's what I'd like to show you next. While I'm getting my notebook ready, I'm going to put a link here to a Kmart ad. I'm not sure about copyrights, but the Kmart ad is going to show, it actually has a date of October 25th, 2017 on it, which is interesting. I'm supplying in the links below both the Kmart ad and my Evernote capture of it, just in case it disappears. Kind of like Kmart is trying to do. So like I said, this is a fairly decent writer. I've had several different inks in it. You know, no real flex to it, but it definitely has some line variation. I mean, I guess I could make it flex, but it probably wouldn't flex back. But like I said, line variation even so. As far as the other things, I always like to test wetness and flow. You know, for whatever it's worth, if I put a different ink in it, it may flow differently. But I tend to find this pen a fairly decent writer, fairly wet. A smear test, which again is a function of ink. I'm going to guess it's going to perform very well with the smear test, in part just because of the ink I have in it. It's diatramentus, and it seems to go into paper fairly quickly. And then I know some people wonder why I bother, but I have been asked with other pens, and I'm told that it's useful for artists to know about reverse writing. So, ew. Well, won't bother with that ever again for the rest of my life. Now, I'll mention I don't typically put where I buy a pen at, and this is no exception. I bought it on eBay. It was, a one-time thing. But if you want to find the Rotring Core, sometimes they show up on Amazon, apparently on Kmart. But most typically you find them on eBay for usually somewhere between $20 to $30. So, and they come in several different colors, and there's also a ballpoint and I think a rollerball version. So you might find it interesting. I found it interesting. I watched Chris Rapp did a video on this pen, and I thought you might find it interesting to... I put a link to his video here also, just to compare. He shows you a few more colors than I do, and he ends up mystified by some of the same things I do about that right on system. Okay, I like the Space Wand though. So as you can see, the Space Wand writes quite well. It's very comfortable to hold. I think it's a little big for a pen, but yet the grip is small enough to be comfortable. I'm not thrilled with how huge the cap is, but the price is right. So, as a novelty pen, I think it's a fun one to pick up. And Rotring has an interesting period in fountain pen history, and they're still around, just not so much as a fountain pen business. So definitely one worth checking out if you're into that kind of thing. That said, I will admit this is not a pen you pull out when you want people to take the... Hey, wow. This is not a pen you pull out when you want people to take you seriously. But it's a fun little novelty pen. So if something happened to it, I'd probably look for a replacement. I like it. I ink it up every so often, not just for the sake of writing with it so I've got enough experience with it to feel like I can review it, but because I do like writing with it. After this review, you will see it again in pens in use. Now, one cool thing that Chris Rapp didn't mention in his videos about the Space Wand. Can your pen do this? I didn't think so. So hope that was useful. Hope it was interesting. Hope you got to see a little bit of a crossover, not really vintage, but maybe futuristic for the 80s and 90s looking pen. So I thank you for watching. If videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens, both new and old at all price points, please subscribe. If you'd like to talk about this pen, or pens like it that might be of interest, please feel free to leave a comment below. As always, I thank you for watching. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.